A lioness lunges for a helpless zebra foal, its claws just inches away. The entire herd scatters in a panic, all but one. A mother turns back. She doesn't run. She fights. What happens next will leave you speechless and change the way you see courage forever. The afternoon sun cast a warm, golden glow across the vibrant green savannah, a sprawling canvas of life dotted with the patient silhouettes of acacia trees and scattered brush. It was a scene of perfect, almost dreamlike tranquility. A large herd of zebras grazed peacefully, their mesmerizing stripes creating a dizzying, shifting pattern in the bright daylight. On the very edge of this bustling community, a young foal, legs still a bit wobbly and new to the world, stayed protectively close to its mother's side. It was learning the ancient rhythms of the plains, the scent of fresh grass, the feel of the warm earth, the comforting presence of family. But they were not alone. In the deceptive stillness of the tall grass, a different rhythm was beating, the silent predatory pulse of hunger. A lean lioness, her powerful muscles coiled like a spring, had been watching. Her amber eyes, missing nothing, had singled out the foal. For her, this was not an act of malice, but of necessity. Her own survival, and perhaps that of her cubs hidden elsewhere, depended on this hunt. Her instincts, honed over countless generations, screamed that the youngest and weakest link in the herd was her best opportunity. With an explosive burst of power that turned the air to thunder, she launched from her cover. The illusion of peace was irrevocably shattered. A wave of panic ripped through the herd, and in a chaotic symphony of thundering hooves, they fled. But as the cloud of dust rose from their frantic escape, one zebra defied every instinct of prey, every law of survival. The mother spun around, a living wall of black and white fury, placing herself squarely between the hunter and her child. We often see zebras as victims, as the quintessential prey animal of the African plains. But we rarely see them as they truly can be, warriors. The lioness, a seasoned predator accustomed to the panicked flight of her targets, was met with a force of nature she had not fully anticipated. The mother zebra didn't just block the attack. She launched a ferocious counteroffensive. Rearing up on her powerful hind legs, her front hooves transformed into weapons. She brought them crashing down with incredible force, aiming for the lioness's head and spine. The predator, a marvel of agility and power, managed to dodge the initial assault, but was visibly stunned by the sheer aggression. This wasn't a desperate, fleeting act of defense. It was a declaration of war. The zebra twisted her body with surprising speed, turning her hind legs toward the enemy. Now, here is a fact that separates the myths of the savannah from its reality. A zebra's kick is one of the most formidable and lethal weapons in the wild. It isn't just a random lash out. It's a targeted strike, capable of delivering over 1,000 pounds of force with surgical precision. It can shatter a lion's jaw, crush its skull, or even kill it outright with a single, well-placed blow. The lioness, instinctively aware of this mortal danger, was forced to be cautious. Her attack lost its fluid certainty. The fight devolved into a deadly, intimate dance. The lioness would lunge, claws extended, only for the zebra to pivot and kick, forcing the predator to retreat. Then, the mother did something extraordinary, something captured in that one breathtaking photograph. She lunged forward, her teeth bared, and clamped down hard on the lioness's face. This is not the behavior of prey. This is the unyielding fury of a protector who has weighed the odds and decided that her own life is a currency worth spending for the life of her child. Dust billowed around them, kicked up by their deadly ballet. The sounds of guttural snarls from the lioness and furious, defiant snorts from the zebra echoed across the now empty plains. For the mother zebra, pain was irrelevant. Fear was a luxury she could not afford. Every sinew, every muscle, every ounce of her being was focused on a single, desperate goal: to create a window of opportunity, no matter how small, for her foal to escape. She was buying time with her own body, trading wounds for precious, life-giving seconds. While this epic battle of wills raged on, the foal was a blur of black and white stripes against the vast green landscape. Terror was its only guide, a primal engine driving its small legs forward. The thunderous sounds of the fight, the terrifying scent of the predator. It was a sensory overload that overwhelmed its young mind. It ran, not towards the safety of the now distant, scattered herd, but simply away. Away from the chaos, away from the snarls, away from the image of the creature that wanted to end its life. In its blind panic, its instincts picked up on a new scent on the wind, a different presence that did not carry the same immediate threat. It was an unfamiliar path, but was the only path that led away from certain death. Miles away, standing at the edge of a sparse cluster of acacia trees, Ranger Elijah Mwangi was on his daily patrol. A man in his late 50s, his face was a map carved by the African sun and a lifetime of wisdom. With over 2 decades of experience on these plains, Elijah knew this land not as a backdrop, but as a living, breathing entity with its own language. He could read the subtle signs that most would miss. The sudden, alarmed flight of a flock of birds, the abrupt silence of the insects, the story told by a shift in the wind. He heard it before he saw it. The frantic, desperate drumming of hooves on the hard-packed earth. The sound was too light, too fast, too erratic for an adult animal. He turned, his calm eyes scanning the horizon, and then he saw it, a single, tiny zebra foal running at a full-out gallop directly towards him. Its small sides were heaving, its eyes wide with a terror that Elijah recognized instantly and profoundly. He remained perfectly still, a calm and steady anchor in the foal's storm of fear. His first thought wasn't about the foal itself, but the question it represented. What was it running from? A lone foal invariably meant a separated mother, and a separated mother almost always meant a predator was in the vicinity. From his vantage point, the battle was too distant to see or hear clearly, but this terrified baby was irrefutable evidence of a drama unfolding. He unconsciously tightened his grip on the smooth, worn wood of his walking stick. His mind, a repository of countless similar scenes, raced to process the possibilities. The foal was closing the distance fast, its desperate flight about to collide with his world. He did not yet know the details, but he knew he was about to become a part of the story. The foal, its energy spent and its body trembling with exhaustion and fear, finally stumbled to a halt just a few yards from where Elijah stood. In its terrified mind, the man was not a threat, but simply something that was not the lion. It was a neutral space in a world that had suddenly become hostile. It was in that moment that the faint but unmistakable sounds of the struggle finally reached Elijah's ears on the breeze. He could now piece the story together with chilling clarity. The mother was back there, somewhere in the distance, still fighting for her baby's life. Now, Elijah faced the ranger's ultimate and most profound dilemma. The first and most sacred rule of his profession is non-interference. Nature has its own laws, its own brutal but necessary cycles of life and death. To intervene in a predator-prey dynamic, no matter how noble the intention, can have unforeseen and often tragic consequences. Saving one animal could mean starving another, disrupting a delicate balance that has existed for millennia. It is a code he had lived by for 20 years. But standing before him was a living, breathing contradiction to that code. Here was a symbol of pure innocence, a life that had only just begun, a creature that had, for whatever reason, sought refuge with him, a human. And he knew, with a certainty that ached in his chest, that the mother's heroic, impossible stand would be for nothing if her foal was left alone and vulnerable. The human heart and the ranger's code were at war within him. He thought of firing a warning shot from the pistol at his hip, but that could cause the mother and foal to bolt in different directions, separating them permanently. He could try to run towards the fight and chase the lioness off, but that would put him in immense danger and create even more chaos. His mind, honed by years of quiet observation, worked quickly. He looked at the trembling foal. He looked towards the distant sounds of the fight. He looked down at the simple walking stick in his hand. And then he understood. He didn't have to break the laws of nature. He just had to use his presence, his unique position as a human in this landscape, to tip the scales ever so slightly. He would not be a savior, but a distraction. He began to walk, not directly towards the fight, but in a wide, deliberate arc, carefully positioning himself between the foal and the direction of the struggle. His plan was forming, an act not of force, but of wisdom. Elijah didn't shout. He didn't run. He did something much smarter, something that respected the wildness of the situation. He raised his walking stick and struck the hard, dry earth with all his strength. Thwack! The sound was sharp, loud, and utterly alien in the natural symphony of the savannah. He did it again. Thwack! And again. Thwack! It was a sound a lioness, tuned to the grunts of antelope and the thud of hooves, would not recognize. It was a sound of intelligence, of something other. The noise was enough. It broke the predator's intense focus. The lioness, bloodied and weary from the zebra's relentless defense, flinched. Her head snapped up from the battle, her yellow eyes instantly trying to place the source of the unnatural sound. In the distance, she saw the upright figure of the man, a new variable, an unknown and unpredictable threat. That single moment of hesitation was the gift the mother zebra had been fighting and bleeding for. Wounded but unyielding, she used the lioness's paws to spin away, putting precious, life-saving distance between herself and the predator. She let out a sharp, piercing call, a unique vocalization meant only for her foal. From its position near Elijah, the foal heard its mother's voice and answered back with a desperate cry. The lioness, now facing a wounded but still dangerous zebra, the cries of its foal, and the unnerving presence of a human, made a swift, calculated decision. The element of surprise was gone. The hunt was compromised. The cost of this meal had become too high. With a final, frustrated snarl, she turned and melted back into the tall grass, disappearing as quickly as she had arrived. Elijah stood motionless as he watched the mother limp slowly towards her foal. They touched noses, a silent, profound reunion that spoke of relief and a bond unbroken. Together, they turned and trotted away, the foal now tucked securely at its mother's side, until they were just another part of the vast, indifferent plains. Elijah didn't follow. His part in their story was done. In that moment, on that sun-drenched savannah, three different forms of courage had converged and intersected. There was the fierce, sacrificial courage of a mother. There was the desperate, instinctual courage of a child to flee towards an unknown hope. And there was the quiet, compassionate courage of a human who understood that sometimes the greatest strength is shown not through force, but through wisdom. It's a powerful, humbling reminder that love is the most potent and universal force on earth, a language that all of us, no matter our species, can understand.